Morning, all. All right, want to talk about the Colorado Avalanche. So the Avalanche, they got off to the slow start. They seem to have turned things around. Then things kind of fallen apart again. Now, injuries play a large role in this. Absolutely, yes, agreed. But I also wanted to look at the underlying numbers because I do think there's a lot going on here, and I think that every time I've seen Makar's numbers get brought up, I wanted to talk about that too. So I thought, why don't I just combine it into a video on the Avs? So their season started with an 8-4 loss in Las Vegas. Not a great start. Sloppy defense, bad goaltending has been part and parcel of the 2024-2025 season thus far. Not just in Colorado either. Definitely been a pretty insane season. So it starts with the 8-4 loss in Vegas. Rantanen with the hat trick. Georgiev gets pulled after allowing 5 goals on 16 shots. Annunen allowed 2 goals on 4 shots in relief. Then they come home and they have Columbus there waiting for them, and they lost that game 6-4. Makar had 2 assists in that game. Georgiev saved 6 out of 9. Annunen comes in relief, saves 11 out of 13. Then they play at home against the Islanders. The Islanders are a team that have struggled to score this year. They didn't struggle in this game. They won 6-4. So Callum Ritchie had a goal in that game. Georgiev saves 31 out of 36. Didn't get pulled that night. Hasn't been pulled since being pulled in the first 2 games. But his numbers have not got back to Georgiev-like numbers. So the next home game is against Boston. They lose that one 5-3. Makar had a goal and 2 assists. Georgiev 21 saves on 25 shots. So again, you're getting a few goals here, yes, but in the end, the goals against are just killing them. Then to round out that homestand, they win a game. They beat the Anaheim Ducks. It takes till overtime, but they win 4-3. McKinnon scores the overtime winner, and they suppress the shots against. So Georgiev saved 16 out of 19. The key word there being 19. They only allowed 19 shots over 3 periods. It is Anaheim, though, so if you want to play devil's advocate, you could just say, well, yeah, but Anaheim doesn't get a ton of shots per game, which wouldn't be a lie. Then they go away from home to San Jose, and they won that game 4-1. Ross Colton had 2 goals in that one. Annunen, 25 saves on 26 shots as he made his first start of the year, and it seemed to be working. So they try it again. Away from home, they win 3-2 in Seattle. Annunen saves 25 out of 27, and Kivi Ranta had 2 goals in that game. So they stay with Annunen, and they win again. They win 5-1 in Utah. Mittelstadt with a goal and 2 assists. Annunen saves 25 out of 26. They come back home. They win again. So that's 4 straight wins. They beat Ottawa 5-4. Mittelstadt 3 assists. Annunen 26 saves on 30 shots. Ottawa was very unfortunate not to come out of that game with at least a point, but Colorado gets 2 points in that. And then it turns negative again. So they lose at home 5-2 against Colorado Avalanche. Or against Chicago. They're kind of losing against themselves, too, in a way. Makar, McKinnon, and Rantanen all ended up -4 in that game against Chicago. They were on the ice for the 2 empty netters, is my guess, because there were 2 empty net goals in that game. And that's something I want to talk about, too. So Georgiev in that game saved 21 out of 24. The next home game, they lose against Tampa 5-2. Makar, a goal and an assist in that one. Kakinen makes his first start in Colorado. Had a rough beginning and ends up saving 16 out of 20. And then away from home last night, they lose against Nashville 5-2. McKinnon a goal and an assist, and Annunen saves 20 out of 23. So when we look at the overall picture, you can see that they've been shifting away from Georgiev in net, and that Annunen's had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 5 of the last 7 starts, which seems to be the right decision, that Annunen's the hot goaltender, you're going to go in that direction. Now, their current record's 5-7, which is right here on the board. Goals for per game, 3.33. That's actually 12th in the National Hockey League. They're scoring at a pretty good rate. 4.25 goals against per game is 32nd. Absolutely dead last in the league. So that's a reflection of defense, goaltending, and something else we'll talk about in a moment here. Power plays, they're good on the power play, 34.2%, which is second overall. The penalty kill, suffering, 28% at 68.8%. They also lead the league with 8 empty net goals against. 8. So in 12 games, they have 8 empty net goals against. Cale Makar's a -8. How many of those empty net goals do you think Makar was on the ice for? So I understand that he's not had a great start to the season defensively. I'm not trying to make the argument that he is. But those 8 goals against in the empty net, he has a -8. So he was probably on the ice for most of those 6-on-5 goals. And again, they're in that position because they're losing. So once you start getting healthier, once the goaltending becomes more reliable, that plus-minus number should start going up, right? So they're 5th in expected goals, according to Money Puck, 54.96%. And I didn't just use Money Puck for this one either. Goals for above expected is a -6.71. So what's interesting is they're 12th in goals for per game, but according to Money Puck, they should have more goals than they do. They've scored 6.71 less than expected. Goals against above expected is at 8.11. That's 8 goals that have been allowed that are above the expected number. Now, according to Top Down Hockey, which JFresh uses, they're at 6.8 goals against above expected, which is the worst in the league. Tells you that they're getting the worst goaltending from Georgiev in the league because Georgiev is well above expected. And he has the worst numbers both on Top Down Hockey and Money Puck, because I always hear, oh, Money Puck's terrible in this and that. But yeah, Georgiev's numbers, no matter which advanced stats I'm looking at, are the worst in the league. At 23 goals against, 12.77 expected. And this is an issue. And the reason I mention this is because if you're a player and you know that your goaltender is shaky, it's going to change the way you're playing out there. And there have been times in these games where I feel like maybe the Avs aren't playing scared's the wrong way to look at it, but playing a little more. When you're concerned that you're going to allow goals against, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it does feel like Colorado may not be playing the kind of style of hockey that they should all the time because of that concern about the goal against, right? Now, again, that's purely just something speculative on my part from watching their games. Quality starts, and I got these stats from the NHL. So this is if you have a save percentage of 900 or higher in a game. Annunen has had 900 or above in 3 of his 5 starts. Georgiev, 0. 0 times in 6 games that he has started has he had a save percentage of 900 or higher in a game. And Kakkonen is 0 for 1 in that regard as well. That is absolutely a factor. And the reality is he was pulled twice early in the season. He's in a contract year, and it's kind of insane because usually when a guy's going into a contract year, they do really, really well. This is not the usual. But again, goaltenders can be voodoo. I like Georgiev. That's the thing. I like Georgiev. I liked him when he was with the Rangers. I was glad when he went to Colorado. I was like, good, he's going to get a chance to be a starter. It's just not clicking for him right now. So bringing in Kakkonen, going with Kakkonen and Annunen so that you could fix what's going on with Georgiev, not unlike what's going on with Tristan Jarry in Pittsburgh. And no, trading one for the other is not an option. If it was back in the 80s, that's exactly what would have happened. One would have got traded for the other just to see if that'll fix things. So their upcoming schedule, they're at home on Tuesday. Now, they could have Lehkonen in the lineup for that game. That is possible. And having Lehkonen back in the lineup will help from an offensive perspective, but this is a team that's already scoring goals. The thing is, if they can get a lead, and if they can bring that lead home, if they can suppress the shots against and give Georgiev a night where he faces like 15 shots, give him a couple of those nights so that maybe he saves 14 out of 15, gets his confidence back up, because that's a huge part of a goaltender's game. Who knows? And Seattle has started a downturn again, although it's very unpredictable, this NHL these days. Then they go to Winnipeg on Thursday. That's going to be a big test for them. But we saw in the playoffs what they could do to Winnipeg, so it could be a really fun tilt. Saturday, they're at home against Carolina. So their upcoming week is an interesting one in that 2 of the 3 teams they're playing against are very good teams with very good records and will not be easy to defeat. And then they come back home, or they're still at home on Monday, Remembrance Day, the 11th of November, to play against Nashville. So they have a chance to get a measure of revenge against Nashville, who beat them last night, before they play at home on the Wednesday, the 13th of November, against the LA Kings. The LA Kings, highly unpredictable from one game to the next as well. And then they're at home against the Capitals on Friday the 15th. So you've got Winnipeg, Carolina, and Washington amongst the upcoming 6 games. None of those are easy games to win. Those should be really good tests. This is a team that has struggled against some of the better teams in the standings when they face them. Tampa Bay, Vegas being the 2 examples that come to mind, because honestly, most of the teams on this board, I guess Ottawa too, they did win the game against Ottawa. A lot of the teams they've played against don't have great records either. So the schedule is only going to get more difficult. But they're going to get Nichushkin back at some point this month, if everything goes to plan, right? That'll help the top 6. Lehkonen helps the top 6. Wood's only out for 7 to 10 days from what I was reading. Ross Colton's out for a while, but he was filling in while other guys were out. Drouin, haven't heard a word on his return yet. And of course, the big one is Gabriel Landeskog, but they've been without Landeskog for quite some time now. So I don't view Landeskog as being like the really, really important one that's out, because he's been out for so long. And we saw last year during the regular season that they could win during the regular season without him. And then it's a matter of getting over that hump in the playoffs. Now, 5-on-5 goals, for expected 5-on-5 goals. So this is supposed to tell you how well teams are playing at even strength. And this is also from Top Down Hockey, used by JFresh. They're 9th in goals for per 60 minutes. They're 22nd in goals against per 60 minutes, which tells you the defense is not playing particularly well, but the fact that they're 32nd in goals against per game tells you it is being made worse and amplified by the fact that they're just not getting those big game-saving saves. They don't have a goaltender at this point that makes an absolutely spectacular save that you say, wow, I can't believe that happened. That gives the team confidence, and then next thing you know, they win a game they shouldn't. So one of these 3 goaltenders has to be the guy to get that rolling, because right now, let's just say that Colorado gets things together and they get into the playoffs, which of those 3 goaltenders are you going with? Who are they going to match up against? And in terms of a goaltending matchup, would they be able to get all the way to the finals and, say, win a Stanley Cup, which is ultimately the plan in Colorado, right? I know people will point out Antti Niemi from Chicago. I know people will point out other goaltenders like Aiden Hill that have got hot at the right time. And sure, that can happen, but it really is lightning in a bottle, and it's impossible to predict. All we have to go on is what we have so far. Annanen's been the best of the 3 goaltenders. So you guys can decide, is Annunen going to be the guy? He does have a positive goal saved above expected as well. He is the one of the 3 goaltenders they have that actually has a positive number in that regard. And so I think whether you're looking at regular stats or advanced, he probably should be the starting goaltender for Colorado at this stage. But I think if they're going to win in the playoffs, they really need to get Georgiev back to where he was not that long ago. And I know he can play quite well. I really think that what happens is that psychology side of things with goaltenders. That can be tricky. It can be impossible to figure out for some goaltenders and some teams. Hopefully they figure it out soon. The no mercy magnet is because of the injuries. So I was like, all right, I want to use some magnet for the injuries. I'm going to use no mercy because in terms of luck, there just isn't any when it comes to injuries with the Colorado Avalanche. And this has been the case for years that, the Avs have, 10 guys out of line? Yeah, that seems about right. So hopefully that fixes itself soon, because part of the problem is Lehkonen comes back, let's say Nichushkin comes back. You have to hold your breath and hope nobody gets hurt in the meantime. Because if you get Lehkonen back, Nichushkin back, and then somebody else gets hurt, that can be the problem. And that is often the issue with Colorado, but maybe that issue will turn itself around shortly. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What will turn around Colorado? When is that going to happen? Is the best thing for them the fact that they've got some really good teams coming in? Because honestly, or at least coming up on their schedule, they're not all coming into town or anything, but coming up in their schedule, they've got some pretty good teams. Sometimes that can be a good motivator, playing against contending teams and going, hey, we got to show we can hang with these guys. And next thing you know, they put up a couple of wins, and off they go. I still think this is a team that's going to challenge for the division. I still think this is a team that should easily make the playoffs. But we could end up with a bit of a surprise this year. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.